Hey everyone, this is DayTraderRockStar for DayTradingRadio.com, and today I'm giving you a little market update and a little education on what kind of stocks we are finding in this market. I have majority of my setups come from a series of setups I call the DayTraderRockStar playbook, and this one right here, this is off of the HPS watch list. It's normally an upward channel pullback. You can see there's actually a channel within a channel. Multiple lines of support, including the 200 period moving average, but the key here is that oversold stochastic lining up with the multiple trend lines, and really gives us a risk reward buy entry here. And this is what you've been seeing all week. I mean, you can look back at the watch list here and then see. And I'm gonna just show you the ones that have activated, because we just put out a whole bunch of new ones, and these are the ones that we kind of that we send out every week, Saturday and Sunday. With their buy triggers, that everyone has a individual chart, and we can learn a lot from these setups. So again, that's what we're going to do. We're just going to take a fast look at some of these stocks that we've recently been in, and you're going to notice an underlying theme on a lot of them, that the trend is higher, the market is very bullish, and we're buying these stocks which are quality names on pullbacks. But on those pullbacks, we're recognizing certain criteria that we like to look for: divergences between highs and lows, and the stochastics getting down to an oversold or overbought level. So in this case, you can actually see this one was one that we put out yesterday, and it actually already pushed up into our profit zone, but very similar patterns. Again, just the upward trend line, the pullback, and recognizing the risk reward on the pullback. We'll continue to look at that. We'll go WNR. Do we have another alert on that? EMC has an alert. Agilent was one of the best bets of last week. Was it last week? Was it the best bet, or the week before? I know we have so many. Every week we put out a kick-ass trade. I think this was about 2 weeks ago. Anyway, you can see very similar upward trend line, downward channel line, and a pop out of that. We're going to continue on because I want to get to this week's kick-ass trade, but I also want to show you. Again, these are just great examples of setups that we're looking for constantly in the market. Time Warner, just a quality stock that's actually been grinding higher. This was just a flag setup. And from that point on, we hit our trigger area, went right up to the profit zone fast, and now it's actually setting up to go again this week. So this will be another stock we'll be watching this week on the site. TWX, Time Warner on the 60-minute chart. I'm going to roll through these real fast because we put a lot of stocks out there already. Classic flag formation, and Coca-Cola is something that was obvious to see. Just a nice move up and a consolidation back, and waited for this to really just pull back a little bit further. We used a 60-minute rotation on this one, and from that point on, you can see we pushed right back higher, and we hit our profit zone. And this is the way things are going to continue to look. Could we have a whole Coca-Cola, ADM, Dollar Tree, Budweiser, CSH is a classic one. But the Liberty Media, want to go over that one too, because that was last week's kick-ass trade of the week. And you can see there was just a nice little flag. It was a perfect textbook flag. We also had in case we pull back to the trend line, what the system does is whenever we put a buy trigger in, or a sell trigger, it automatically goes into the system and it alerts you when those areas are hit. So all the work is done for you. In this case, we had a buy trigger at 74.10 with a profit zone at 75 to 76, and this one, pushed right up through that level and actually pulled back. And this is actually one on the watch list for this week, and I'll actually show you that new setup because it is, it is something that I think we could concentrate on for a new setup. Now, is that going to be up here? Let me double check that. Yeah, here we go. This is Liberty Global on the 60-minute chart. You can see we're already starting to pull back out of this, and we're going to pull back into this buy zone. We have the profit zone ahead of us, so we're going to be watching that. So that's a few of the setups here going forward. We're going to take a look also on the S&P cash chart. Well, actually, let's go back one more time. I want to show you one more of that to what we had on the watch list. And again, this is another recognizable downward channel stochastic bounce setup off the playbook. This one's inside of a larger wedge pattern, so it gives us 2 points of support right here. And a 2-point support in a market like this is really good. And from that point on, you can see the results of that trade. And we move right back into our profit zone. This one probably still has some more upside. So again, whole new list out here. Let's go into a new stock. I'm going to give you this this trade for next week. I have some new ones. I hadn't put this one on the video, so I want to release it to everyone. It's let's bring it up for you right now. All right, you see something very familiar in this one. This is I would say Syngenta, ADR. Ag stock, but what we like here is just again the combination of multiple indicators lining up. I go by 5 indicators setup. You know, support lines, recognizable patterns, overbought, oversold levels on the stochastics, underlying moving averages, and in some case we look at candlesticks, and especially if we have a candlestick that's a breakout of a previous day high, or even on the 60-minute chart for a short-term scalp, we look for a previous breakout of the 60-minute candle to kind of confirm us only when we have an oversold level. Remember, the key is having that oversold level and that break above previous day highs, or in this case, a 60-minute break above the previous high usually gives us follow-through. So when we have an oversold level, when you get a break above previous day high, you see multiple candles grow. And on in a situation like this, when you do get that break above previous high, when you get this nice little move, you can time it very easily with that 60-minute chart. As you get into overbought, you take the profit off. If you start to get the turnover, you exit the trade. But this one's just coming off a support line. It's also coming off of a lower trend line of a channel. And one thing I could say is I never really traded this one before, and that's something I always kind of preach, is to know your stock that you're getting into. But we also know this pattern is a very reliable pattern, and this is something that's been playing out multiple times on this trade. So again, my plan is to get in early on Monday, a small entry here on in this zone. It's probably going to gap up or gap down. If it gaps down, I think we have a good entry here off a double bottom, or even a possible support line down here, which looks great. If it gaps up, well, I'm going to bite it and bite the bullet and just get in, because this is a great pattern. It's off of support. It looks like a great setup for an upside pop this week. So this is this week's kick-ass trade of the week, the KAT, and I'll be discussing this one Monday morning, because I didn't get it on the video didn't get it on the HBS video this week. It came out of some further research I was doing just recently, so I just wanted to make sure I added it to you in some way. I'll put it out in this YouTube video. Also got, let's see what else. I also got some new stocks to pay attention to going into next week, which are not on the watch list, but look excellent. Just like Vale, Brazilian steel company, Rio Tinto also giving us that double bottom inside of a larger pattern, getting oversold. So this typically, kind of a dangerous, very weak stock, but we are set up as a double bottom here, and we're oversold, so everything pointed to a possible pop here. This looks like really good support down here too. But this is one of the sectors, the Brazilian steel has not performed at all. But a technical level, similar to Vale, which were, very similar to the Vale, which underlying trend line. These I do like just on the technical, a technical trade there. Dominion D, very strong, continues to look very good. There's something to watch. We have a whole good sector rotation we're focused on this week. And here's another one, Bank of Montreal. We've been talking about this one on the site over the last week, and recognize this underlying trend line and oversold stochastics. This actually looks great for a buy here, Bank of Montreal. This is the analogy for the markets, and we've used it all the time, is we're here to trade the markets. We have a set methodology. It's called a high probability setups. I mean, it gives us the best probability, the best risk reward ratio on a trade, usually off of multiple indicators. One of the more important indicators I'm using is the trend line, or recent areas of interest, pivot areas where the stocks move from one direction to another, and those pivots line up to make trend lines, and those trend lines get calculated and come back into play. But they really become important when a stochastic indicator also gets oversold into that zone, and that oversold level is down underneath that 20 zone. So this was a textbook bounce off of this lower trend line, just starting to turn back up underneath the 200 period moving average, which I like, because lots of times we'll see a flush through it just to shake out the weak hands and to push back higher. So this all looks good for a move back up. Again, another stock that is an added bonus today. And keep an eye on BMO going into next week, Bank of Montreal. And that's it. Overall S&P outlook. It's hard to call the top in this market, and I'm not going to do it. I did see a nice ramp up on Friday afternoon. It was a nice ramp. I had a little characteristics of a blow-off top, and a very minor one at that. It was just a very steep pull, and we took out the recent highs, and with that, sometimes we make little short-term tops. And seeing that into Friday, I've seen before Monday's been down after a Friday spike higher. So I'm going. I went out on a limb saying that we're looking for maybe a possible pullback Monday, but nothing really severe and nothing that's going to derail this. On the post on the site, I mentioned a lot about the Fed behind this market and their goals with the market and their benchmarks, the points that they need to get to before they start to pull back on the easing, including the employment rate and interest rates. And a couple of those charts are on the site. So that is a little update. I'm not, again, at this point, we're kind of embedded on the daily. We got a rotation back up on the 60, multiple time frame, but this has become pretty much not a very good timing indicator now that everything is extended so far. So right now we just play day by day. We look for writing on the wall, and the first signal is going to be for some these patterns to start breaking down, some trend lines start to break down, stochastics start to get back into a rhythm, but start to embed on the downside instead of on the upside, and that would be a sign of maybe a change of trend. So I'm DayTraderRockStar for DayTradingRadio.com. Hope you enjoyed this market update and these just little gems of stocks I've given you. Again, kick-ass trade this week, SYT, but also watch the BMO. I will put that one up against it, and I'll be talking about these early Monday morning on the site. So I hope to see you there. All right, take care. Have a great weekend.